Let's start by just closing down the eyes. Turn your awareness inwards. And make a mental note about your state of mind, emotional well-being, and how's your breath? Take a full inhalation. Sigh out and relax the body. One more. Inhale fully. And relax. Beautiful. Blink the eyes open. Welcome to this workshop. We'll talk about Prānāyāma, the art of breathing. I'll give you an introduction to what Prānāyāma is, about the functioning, what happens in the body, the physiology. And then we will also later in the second part have some exercises and learn how to breathe and how to use the muscles in the body. So Pranayama is one of the main pillars of yogic tradition. If you look into the very, very first scriptures where yoga appears, it's always with the practice of it. So yoga is described as a philosophy and at the same time how to practice, how to come into the experience of the philosophy, of what they talk about. And one of the key practices has been and is today, pranayama, is how to breathe. Because it's such a powerful tool to guide and bring body and mind into different states. And if there's no breath, I would say there's no yoga. So it's that fundamental that it has to come together. But it's very similar to say if there's no breath, there's no life. For human beings, at least, that's very true. And in that sense, this art, this practice comes together. And breath is so closely connected to our other systems, one, the body, but also the mind, that it becomes, therefore, such a powerful tool. Because have you ever realized that it's not so easy to control your mind? Have you been in those states where you're like just overthinking and there's this loop going on, or you couldn't get out of a specific thinking pattern? It's not like you can do this and then you're gone. You're like somewhere else. Is that the case for you guys, or does someone has this magic trick? And the same with your emotions. If turmoil is going on, emotions going like wild, can you just say, stop it, and then it stops? No, that's not really possible. And emotions and the mental factor is connected to the body as well. Maybe you have realized that, maybe not. When you are emotional, you will have a feeling in the body at the same time. So your body mirrors the emotion as an expression. It can be a crumping in the stomach, it can be like a nervous feeling inside, it can be a shaking, it can be something heat, it can be like tension. So those are emotions mirrored by the body. So there's no emotion without body experience, actually. Sometimes we have the idea of an emotion, but it's rather a mental idea. So to make an example, I'm afraid of riding on a bike. if you are here in a safe place and you say, I'm afraid, you're not really afraid. You just have the mental idea of being afraid. You don't feel the fear. But if you ride the bike and you're fast, you actually feel the fear in your bones. That's a difference. It's a huge difference. So one is the mind making stories about what you are or how you feel, or maybe an emotion. So you think the emotion, and sometimes you have it as a full body experience. And both things are sometimes disturbing and destructive for having an enjoyable life. And so there is where pranayama comes in and can be very helpful, because pranayama starts with aligning the body into a very specific state. And you can direct that state because you can use different kinds and methods of pranayama, of breath work or breathing techniques. And according to which technique you do, you align your body into a specific state. And that's why it's so powerful, because then the body comes into a specific state and changes also slowly the emotions and the thinking patterns or speed. So that's why it can be really a handy tool, and you have influence over how you breathe, and that is the excellence of it. You don't have influence of your thoughts or of your emotions, but you have influence of your breath, to a certain degree, of course. So in that sense, it can be just a very practical tool for daily life. And the second, or another benefit of using pranayama is that it brings you in intimate contact with the deeper layers of yourself. So that's how the yogis used it in preparation for meditation and in preparation to connect deeper with your essence. So it's also a tool to, let's say, go deeper into your spiritual practice. Yeah, so there, I would say those two sides. One side is balancing well-being on emotional and daily life manners, and on the other side, a tool for spiritual development. Okay, so what does pranayama mean, the word? It contains two words that are stick together. Prana, you probably have heard already, life force, that what animates us. It's literally what the yogis think gives life to things or subjects, to humans in this case. So they would just say the structure of a body is the same if it's dead or alive. The only difference is in the alive one, there is the life force animating it. And if the life force enters with your first breath, when you get out of your womb, out of the womb, then you take an inhale, life force enters. I mean, it does it already earlier, but with the first breath, it's kind of taking form. And with the death, the last breath is an exhale, and it leaves. And so throughout life, how you breathe is heavily influencing how vital you feel. So life force as the first part of the breath, and then yama or ayama, two variations we can use. And yama means control or restraint. So we kind of guide, let's say, life force in a very structured conscious pattern into our bodies. Or we control how it flows, you could imagine as a translation. Or ayama would be the opposite, and would be like we let it run freely, a bit more tantric approach. And it could be the expansion of life force. So we cultivate more of that life force in our bodies, so we have more energy to live. And now if you look at the anatomy of a human body, you can see that literally breath flows in on our inhale, and that is oxygen and a few other gases, but mainly oxygen. And that oxygen comes into the lungs and is transferred into the blood and through the blood distributed into the body wherever it's needed, for example, in the organs and the brain and all kinds of areas. And there it's transformed into energy, and it can be kinetic energy or electric energy. It's like our thoughts. So it's literally an energy that gives or enables us to live in a very physical, anatomical way. So when we look at like modern science, we would say that idea is not that far from a kind of mysterious life force. Yeah, so it enters, it is transported to wherever it's needed, and then it's used. What happens then is we exhale, because in that transformation it transforms into carbon dioxide, CO2, and then we exhale that CO2 because that's a toxin for the body. CO2 is nothing we want to keep too much in our bodies. And CO2 is, by a miracle, what plants love to inhale, and transform into O2, which we inhale. So it's a really nice cycle which nature came up with, in my opinion. So there are certain levels of O2 and CO2 in your body, and the O2 level, the oxygen level, is very constant. And if it falls like 5-6% lower, then you're really at a not good place. So what you want to maintain is a steady oxygen level, like 95-6%, something like that, in the blood. And what you can alter is the dioxide level in your blood, and that can go down quite a bit, much more than the oxygen level will rise. And that is very healthy. So that's one side effect that happens with pranayama work, or can occur, that your oxygen level are sinking down, which the body's happy about because you have less toxins in the body. And that makes the blood more alkaline, which is great for against inflammations. Meaning it's already also a tool to heal the body on an internal level, because the environment is already shaped in a quite suitable environment. So there are physiological benefits, and those benefits also affect how you sleep, how you digest, so the wake and sleeping patterns, the ability to focus, the ability to switch from one nervous system into the other nervous system, so to manage your active and rest states, and many more. There's a huge list. There's a lot of study being done how great pranayama can be. So from a physical point of view, it's a great thing to do. I want to speak about that nervous system for a second also to make you understand what happens. So when we're in daily life and we are getting in situations which are challenging, we call them stress. What the body does is it reacts on that situation and makes you ready to so-called fight or flight. And that's called the sympathetic nervous system. And what that means is your heart rate is increasing and blood flows through into the limbs and makes you ready basically to really be alert and fight. So pupils open and you're like, okay. And what it also means, digestion, for example, stops. So the blood from that tract where you normally take energy out of food stops, and you're like ready to use your muscles and to run or to fight. That is a survival instinct, and that is great to have, especially if you're in a dangerous situation. Those dangerous situations nowadays look a bit different than maybe the last 100,000 years, where we had to run from animals or something, I don't know. But nowadays you're in a conflict with your boss at work, you're having a discussion with a customer, you're like fighting with your partner, you're dealing with your kids, you're like whatever, are in time pressure. That was one of the biggest for me, like just we had deadlines, time pressure, and everything is so fast. So you have multitask and so on, and that already can bring you into fight and flight mode. And there's nothing wrong with it, but you have to have enough time to recover from it. And if those times go shorter and shorter because you're more and more in that mode, then the body has not enough time to recover. Now we switch fight and flight to the opposite, which is called rest and digest. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. So those nervous systems are both autonomous nervous systems. You have no influence over them. They are autonomous. They are automatic. And so you cannot decide to be in one or the other. It's happening by itself. Body tries to tune you into what is needed now in this moment. And it's great, but because you have no influence, sometimes we stay too long in the fight and flight mode without knowing how to get out of it. And then you cannot recover enough. So we want to switch to rest and digest every day, because in rest and digest, how it's said, you allow to rest, and in that rest phase, cell repair can happen. So the DNA can code again. And that is so important, because if DNA doesn't code good enough anymore, then there will be mistakes made more easily. And then over time, that decreases the functioning of the cells. And also, your digestion doesn't function anymore so well. And that is a huge problem, because then suddenly you have less ability to take energy out of the food. So if you have less energy, you have even less energy for your fights that you need in the day, and to repair the rest of the body. So it's a vicious circle, unfortunately. And that's why it's of crucial importance to have enough to rest and digest time. And here's the good news. With breath work, you can direct your body to switch from one to the other, or into one of those nervous systems. And the nervous system is so important because it manages kind of the whole body. So if the nervous system is in rest and digest, it will manage the glands and the heart rate and all the organs, and it kind of signals everybody. It's like a cascade that signals your whole being, basically, to relax, for example, or to get active and run. So what is the natural way of getting alert? How would it look for your breath if you would get alert? What's the natural way to breathe? How is the natural way to breathe when you are alert? When you get a shock, how would you breathe? Yeah, so you inhale into the chest, you tense the muscles. That's the normal. And especially the muscles here, the iliopsoas, which are the deepest muscles that is responsible for running, they tense. You get ready to run and kick the panda or the tiger.
You're kicking a panda.
A panda, yeah. Why not? No, we don't kick pandas. Okay. You kick your boss and your mean neighbor. Okay, and what's the normal reflex of the breath if you like slouch into your couch at home finally after work? Exactly. So that's our first clue. Which breath does what? So inhale into chest is more activating, and exhale, slow, fast, slow, long, and into the belly would more be supporting the relaxation. Parasympathetic nervous system. Yeah, so the yogis now developed different breath works that work with mainly that. And then there's another layer, which we probably have not enough time in this workshop to go into, but you can shape prana in different ways, and prana has different directions how to move. So you can use body parts to breathe in, to cultivate specific qualities of prana, like the subtle energy that flows through your body. and therefore you affect your nervous system, therefore you affect your body, therefore you affect your emotional well-being and your mind. So when the breath slows down and relaxes, emotions normally start to settle and the mind gets a bit slower. Same way the other way. If you breathe faster and more into the chest, you activate the whole system more. Mind goes more, emotions can more flow, and that can be both a benefit. If you need to release emotions, you can use breath work. There's workshops that just do that, to breathe strongly, and that brings prana into a flow, and that releases those blockages, and emotions can flow out. So it can be a healing technique as well. In a subtle sense, what we do in yoga is we use the breath to distribute it into all nadis. And nadis are these subtle energy channels in the body. So imagine it like the arteries and the veins, like the blood flows. We have the similar network for life force flowing through the body. You have heard maybe of the chakras. The chakras would be the organs that manage that life flow. And the breath is the force that flows through it, that life force. And what we do with stretching is also opening those channels, so that prana, the flow can, the life force can flow better. So stretching has a physical dimension, but also has the dimension of opening spaces for life force to flow and nurture. When life force gets stuck, it's not healthy, because the natural quality of life force is to be in movement. It flows. And when it gets stuck, it's like a sea with a dam, and it will find at some point to break out. And sometimes it's not what we want. It is done like an injury, or it's a mental disturbance or something like that. So we want to keep that in a healthy balance. Good. Let's start with a little exercise. The first breath we do, and then I tell you a little bit about bandhas afterwards. The first breath we do is called yogic breathing. And for that, you just sit anyhow that your spine is somehow aligned. One hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. What we want to figure out in this breath is to use the whole capacity of breathing. So imagine a glass of water. You fill from the bottom to the top. You want to fill your body with breath on the inhale. So you first inhale into the lower hand, then into the center, and into the top hand up until the collarbones. And then you exhale everything equally. First, lower hand, center, top hand, and equally both hands sinking gently inwards. Find your own rhythm here, from the bottom to the top. And see if you can keep inhale and exhale at the same length, same volume. Generally, pranayama should at all times be effortless. There needs to be a gentle effort, but it's not that you have to push or force. Keep it like light and in a sense effortless. Good. Relax. Keep your eyes closed for a moment and just feel what is the effect in your state of being. It's the effect on your mind, on your body. Just making a mental note, very important, to check after a practice. What does it do for me? And then blink the eyes open and come back.
How many times should I do it? Why?
Let's come to that later.
Okay.
Remind me if I forgot any end. Okay, so while we breathe, we use, of course, the muscles of the chest, between the ribs and so on. But also we use mainly the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the breathing muscle that sits, the main diaphragm sits around your ribs. So where the ribs end, it attaches approximately there. The heart sits almost on it. And when we inhale, the diaphragm kind of pulls down and engages. And that's creating a under pressure in the lungs, so the air is kind of sucked in because the pressure is different than of the outside world. And then we relax literally that muscle, and the pressure outside gets lower, so it flows out. So that is the main muscle we want to use. And you can try to find that muscle by either just using your belly, is one option, pushing the belly out and in. So it can be both ways, but I would suggest to inhale and push the belly out, and exhale, draw the belly in. That's already how to use the diaphragm, but there's also second version you can use it. So you can place the hand, one is on the belly and the other one is just above it, so where the solar plexus is. And you have the possibility to also use that. So you push the upper hand out as well, and that is a bit more difficult to access. But if you look at me, I because I practice it, I have control over that muscle. So it's the upper part of the belly. Yeah. So don't worry too much about that. But you can train that also to use that muscle. So at the beginning, it's more easy to use the belly. Where's their muscle? Yes, exactly. Don't worry too much about the muscles. I just wanted to demo that the diaphragm sits here. And the diaphragms are basically there to manage the pressure in the body. So we have, at all times, have an balanced pressure in the body. And pressure makes fluids or energy flow into certain areas. So if a pressure goes higher in one area, then naturally fluids and energy flows away from it. And if there's less pressure, it flows towards it because it's opening. And so we want to manage the pressure conditions in our body in order to invite energy to flow there. That's why we use those bandhas, so-called bandhas, the locks, like the diaphragm. And there's a second so-called bandha, an energy lock or gate, which is at the very bottom of your pelvis. So it's called pelvic floor muscles, or mula bandha. And that is when you want to hold the pee. You squeeze that, the very muscles at the bottom, they're like a few layers of muscles. So please engage them. You want to imagine you draw them upwards and together. It's also very good to train them a little bit, except if you are pregnant. Or if you want to get pregnant soon, then don't train them. And it can also help for many sexual pleasures, by the way. So it's very healthy to train that. But that is called the lock that keeps the energy in the body. So naturally energy flows out between vagina and anus, or whatever genital you have. In the center, in the very center, that golden spot, that's where energy leaves the body naturally. And that's a healthy system. But in yoga, we want to sometimes not lose the energy or leak it. We want to contain it in the body to use it. Yeah, that's a little bit more towards a spiritual practice, but it's also healthy for the body at times, because what you do, you learn to contain more energy and deal with it in the body, and that makes you more resistant to stress, because stress is inviting a lot of energy in the body and your body cannot deal with it. So it will somehow, but the more you're used to be able holding energy, high energy, intensity in your body, the more capacity you have to deal with it. So it's also a healthy thing. It's like muscle training. If you do push-ups, you get stronger, so you're more easy to push the weight over time. So in yoga practice, just to give you the hint, the idea, and the spiritual practice, we want to awake, that's how they call it, but we want to activate Kundalini energy in the body, and that is done by gently closing that root lock and inviting that Kundalini into the central channel. If that doesn't say you anything, that's all right, you don't need to understand, but if you had already heard those terms, then maybe it makes sense now. And by pranayama, we invite more energy into the body, and then we close the locks so it doesn't leak out, so we have it to bring it closer to the core, let's say. Yeah. So that's part of the spiritual path on an energetic level. So we close that. We use the diaphragm, the center, and then we have one that's called Jalandhara here at the throat. And that is our vocal cords. That's how we make sounds. We can open them or we can close them. And that's another breath I want to do with you guys now. So it's called Ujjayi. You've maybe heard of that before. That breath you can also use in yoga practice when you do the asanas, the postures. And Ujjayi does the same thing. It maintains the energy in the body, one, because you close the lock at the top, but it also structures the breath and life force better. So you can more easily breathe longer and more structured. You imagine it like who was a flutist here? A sound on a flute, you want to have a steady stream of air in a nice structure, and then it's a beautiful melody you can create, a beautiful sound. If it's not structured, it is less of a quality. Imagine it is similar with life force. So how is it done? Imagine you're back a child. You play on a window and you haze the window, you know? Imagine your hand is the window and you make it like steamy. Have you ever done that? And you make little drawings. So please take your hand as a window and steam, making a sound. Good. Now do the same sound on the inhale. And now slowly close the lips. Okay, you can let go of the hand. That is called Ujjayi breath. So that breath that regulates the stream of air and then makes that ocean sound. It's very beautiful to use that in your practice. It's also managing the pressure in your body. So if you're in postures and you have to hold something and there's a bit more pressure, which you contain, then you have more stability. So it's also supporting an asanas, just so you know. So those three locks are used in pranayama as well. Okay, so next exercise. We're doing a breath that really stimulates to bring the body into the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest mode. So what we do, we have to follow long exhalations, that's the secret ingredients, and belly breathing. That will bring and calm you down, bring you into the rest and digest mode. If you want one hand on the belly, the hand is just to feel the movement better. You don't need that actually. Close the eyes down. What we do is now I start with a count. We inhale for 4 and then we make our way to exhale double the length until 8. Starting with 4 and 4, the ratio 4, 4. So please inhale into your hand, fill the belly, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4 counts, draw the navel in, 2, 3, 4. Inhale into the belly, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale now for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, and you can use Ujjayi to structure the breath better. Exhale for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 4. Exhale for 7 now, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale 4 and exhale 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 8, double the length, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Continue on your own, a couple more rounds, and maybe find your own numbers. You can also extend the exhalation indefinitely. Just make it as long as it wants. Keep the inhale 4. Good. Last round. Finish with an exhalation. Keep the eyes closed for a moment. Come back to a natural, involuntary breath. Take the time to feel and to make a mental note of your internal state. What's happening with thoughts? How's the energy state? How does your body feel? And blink the eyes open. So anytime we do breath work and it's too much for you, you just stop the exercise, you open the eyes and you relax. Okay? Good, let's make a little share. How did this feel, or was there any difficulties? And Yeah, how did it feel? What did it do to your experience? Anyone?
For me, it was difficult to hold until 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it was okay.
Okay.
I think if I will try more and more, it's possible, and it's bringing me down very quick.
Yeah. Okay. What about you?
Yeah, same. I think it calms me right down.
Yeah.
And then you're in the flow of it by the end.
Okay. Any other experience somewhere? Can also.
Can I count longer as 8? Because naturally it was too fast for me to take a breath in.
Breath in is 4.
Yes, I know.
Out is 8.
Yes.
So 8 was not enough.
No.
Great. Sure. Count longer. Some people have more difficulties with the inhale, some more with the exhale. It's very natural. Most of the times it's one or the other.
I feel like it's quite difficult when you exhale on 8 that when you start exhaling that you're not pushing too much right away. So like that you constantly breathe out.
So that's why Ujjayi helps.
Mm-hmm.
This one structures the breath, it regulates it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you master this a bit more, you will feel that's your tool, how to let the air go out slower. And also the transition from one to the other should be like in a very nice wave function. So it sounds like this. You know, so it's not, it's like a wave.
It's quite hard not to try and get as much air in the fall. Like,
Yeah.
so that you've got enough to breathe.
Right.
That's what I do. I try to take in lots for the so I don't do a jarring when I'm breathing in, so I can get more in. I think, I should really just breathe the fall and not worry about not having enough air to breathe out. But
It comes
I'm
over
asthmatic,
time.
So I think
Yeah.
asthmaticness apparently is that you can't breathe out. That's what my voice had asthma. So I think the breathing out is the important bit.
Yeah. 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 We want to stay, in a sense, calm and internally safe at all times in pranayama. And sometimes pranayama, especially when we go now to the more active ones, they're a little bit disturbing and shaking internally. And that's all right because we do it in a safe environment. So it's kind of practicing to withstand internal unsettledness. So later in life, it can help you when you are unsettled to stay calm at the same time. So yeah. How long do we do those things, to answer your question? So the calming breaths, as I said in the beginning, they are, especially with the long exhalations, they let go of carbon dioxide, so the body likes it. You cannot overdo it too easily. I mean, you can overdo everything in life, but so there's no big danger. So you can do it actually as long as you want, I would say. Yet to start with, it already has an effect after a minute. Still, I would say 3 minutes is a good amount to start with. Daily 3 minutes is not a big investment of time, and it has already a good effect. And then I do it before class just for 1 to 3 minutes, and then after class, before meditation, another 5 to 15 minutes. I would suggest that's a good amount if you want to include it in your practice. Traditionally, it's done in repetitions. So you would either use a mala or you would count, and you do 3 rounds, for example, of practice. So you do 1 round, meaning 2 minutes or whatever, and then you pause, and then your second round, 2 minutes, you pause, third round, 2 minutes, pause. And in the pause, you feel into the effect, basically. So whenever you feel overwhelmed in life, stressed, too much, this is a good way to signaling your body it's time to rest. And what it also does is throughout the day you build up a breathing pattern, and that reflects your state. Meaning if you're stressed throughout the day, your breathing pattern will be interrupted and stressed. So with a breathwork exercise, and sometimes 3 minutes are enough for that, you kind of reset that pattern, and then you have a normal breathing, a relaxed breathing pattern afterwards, so that the relaxation time afterwards, or whatever you do, maybe it's in front of sleep, will be of much better quality. So just before sleep to do this exercise is brilliant, because the quality of sleep will be better. You don't carry that stress pattern into your night time. So even if you don't have any stress anymore, your body is still breathing in that pattern. So that's why pranayama is a very powerful tool in that situation. Okay. So those are the two first ones. One is belly breathing, and the second one is yogic breath, where we use also the chest, so full body breathing. Okay, good. All right. Let's continue. There's a very known breath which I will skip in this workshop. It's called Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. We don't do that now for time reasons, but we will do and switch to the active breaths. And now take it easy. If it's too much for you, just skip it. It's all right. The active breaths want to do the opposite, energetic movement. So instead of us calming down, for some people it's also calming down, but it's focusing and it's making the energy in the body move. So often you have also a little rush of awakeness, and you have a rush of release often, because energy is moving. So after those, when we do one round, you feel like shaking a little bit, or like whatever, doing some release. Do it, okay? Otherwise, just enjoy the state where you're in. So we start with what we did in the morning already. That's called Kapalabhati. Shining skull, translated. And basically what we do is we use the activating breath, but in a soft version. We use still the belly instead of only chest. Only chest would be very intense. So we use the belly to keep it soft, but still activating. The only action we do is the exhalation. The inhale comes by itself. So when I push the belly in, the air comes out, and then I just relax the belly. So it comes in by itself. Try that. You can also do it very slowly. Okay, let's do it together. We do about 50 repetitions. Let's start with 50 repetitions. And whenever you feel it's too much, you just stop. And you find your own pace. Yeah, I will tell you when 50 are done, so you don't have to count. And we only breathe through the nose. Inhale deeply. Exhale everything out and draw the navel in. Inhale halfway, fill the belly, and start. Exhale everything out. Inhale fully. Hold the breath at the end. Engage the pelvic floor muscles, Mula Bandha. Draw the navel gently in, Uddiyana Bandha. Chin towards your chest, Jalandhara Bandha. Contain your awareness in the center. And relax. This breath hold, which is called Kumbhaka, is for you to hold as long as you wish. And you don't have to do it at all. It's one opportunity to tune into stillness and be all right with a very intense state of being. Okay, now, so there's a rule how long to make the pause. You want to stay in contact with your well-being and see when are you back to a very natural breath, so you're having not fear of having too little air or anything like that. If you feel back at baseline, then it's time to do the second round. For the sake of this workshop, let's all together join the second round, with or without hand. Inhale deeply, exhale fully, inhale halfway to start. If you can also increase the speed a little bit. Ten more. Exhale. Inhale fully. If you want, hold or just relax. The holding is an exercise to contain the energy in the body. Good. Make a mental note. How are you? Is there any change? What do you feel in your body? And blink the eyes open. Good. We straight away Kapalabhati. Kapalabhati. Shining skull. We straight away switch to the second active one. And if that was already too much for you, you just stop, okay? The second active, we would use the inhale active and the exhale active. You can still do it with the belly, but you can also use the chest. Let's keep it with the belly for the first round, and then second round I show you a version for the whole body. It sounds like this. Just have a look, please. So instead of, it's now also the inhale. Okay, just try that slowly. And relax. That is the technique, so we will do 2 rounds again. The first round with the belly, and the second round we use the whole body to breathe, meaning also the chest and the arms, and it looks like this. Inhale, arms forward. Exhale, hands, fists towards your ribs, and you can even bow or like round the back a little bit. So inhale, you arch slightly. Okay, that's the technique. Instead of hands forward, you can even hold them up as well. Okay, those are the options.
It's not fun to do on the bus, is it? This
Yes. Yes. Okay, but the first round, just do it with the bellies. We still use the soft version. Okay, good. If you feel ready, if you want to join in, take a deep inhale, a deep exhale, half in, and start with an exhale. Find your own pace, your own rhythm. If you get too dizzy or anything, you're allowed to stop. If you get a little dizzy, it's all right. You can also stay with it. Possible, use the nose to breathe. Let's do 15 more. Exhale everything out. Inhale deeply and hold the breath if you want. Exhale fully. Hold the breath out. Come back to natural breathing. Feel what's going on inside. Is there some tingling in hands and face? If you feel some energy moving, you can also shake a little bit or make some noises or movements or smiling. Sometimes that happens, coughing, yawning, whatever. If that was too much for you and you want to skip the next round and relax or maybe even lie down, that's all right. If you feel like you're slowly returning to baseline, then you can join me in for the second last round. So you can repeat what we did, or you use the hands and use also breath into the chest. Inhale, exhale. You start with lifting the hands and inhale deeply. Now use full breath. Use the full capacity of breathing. And if it doesn't work with the exhale through the nose, you can exhale also through the mouth. Inhale nose, exhale mouth. Let's do 20 more. Okay, the last 10, slow down the breath and technique and do more full and slow breaths. Full capacity. More full, more slow. Last one, inhale. Exhale fully. And return to a natural, involuntary breath. Feel. If you want to lie down, you can lie down or just relax the body. You don't have to sit upright. Make it as comfortable as possible. Feel into the state of your body. Allow things to move if something wants to move out. Allow yourself to relax into intimate contact, this present moment. And everything that shows up, that arises. It's a gentle walking into the heart of the experience. And if that feels appealing, you can invite your awareness to travel from the feet to the head on the inhale upwards, the exhale downwards without alternating the breath too much, just swaying or floating through the body. Inhale up, exhale down. Center the awareness into the midline of the body. Imagine there is a invisible or a line made out of light from the pelvic floor, lowest point of the hip to the crown of the head. Intuitively flowing with your awareness through that line of light. What the yogis call sushumna, the very core of our energetic being. Making a final movement from the crown of the head down into the heart. Letting the mantra Om vibrate there. You can either decide to stay as you are, or if you want to share, you can slowly get up into a seat. blink your eyes open. So there was an activating breath called Bhastrika, or breath of fire. Is there anything you want to share? How was the experience of that breath? What did it do with your system, your body? Any experience you want to share?
The last one is good for the morning, maybe, because you said it's activating
Yes, or whenever you need energy.
energy.
Mainly in the mornings, that's great, yes. Before practice, if you do a practice that should be activating. Often we also can do yoga practice that supports calming down. But if you want to have more energy, then that's a great practice.
Okay.
It comes together with back bends and side bends the best. If your practice will be back bends and side bends, that's very beautiful, or inversions. But yeah, for any practice you want to be active.
And it's Bhastrika?
Bhastrika. Active inhale, active exhale, Bhastrika. Bellows breathing in English. Der Blasebalg.
I felt quite lightheaded. I think it floods my brain with oxygen.
Yeah.
There's who's that guy that did the jumping in the freezing water?
Wim
It
Hof.
reminds me there was a program where people lay down and they did that for a long, long time, and some of them went into very strange emotional states, were crying, and of course it
Exactly.
really moved loads of things in people. But they did that for a long, half an hour, a long
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
The combination of the physical part of it as well, it's very, not only energising, but it's almost like a joyful feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fizzing.
Fizzy, yes. Tingly, fizzy. Yeah, that's what most people say. Yeah, I
And
agree.
the heartbeat is
Heartbeat is
running
rising. Yeah. Of course, you do movement, but also the inhale. Every inhale increases heartbeat. Every exhale slows heartbeat. Yes. Lightheadedness is a side effect that can come. It's not too much to worry about. You don't push it too far, of course. And over time, sometimes it has an emotional dimension, I say, that you feel not comfortable with being lightheaded. So it's just that. And you can also see what happens if I'm just staying in that state without trying to get out of it. It can be great to explore depth. But on the other hand, it's also a sign of the body. It's a little bit too much, so take it easy. Yeah, and it will, over time, if you practice that a little bit more regularly, it will cease. You don't have that anymore so easily. Yeah. Any other questions or shares?
This count breathing, how many a day I can do it max?
Indefinite. As many days as you wish. Days, you mean? You can do it every day.
How many times a day?
How many times
2
a day?
hours, 3 hours.
I see.
It is like meditation.
So pranayama works really great to prepare for meditation. Really great. It's one of the best ways to set yourself up for meditation. If you want to meditate, do breathwork beforehand, because your system will just calm down or be focused. And then you can slowly slide into meditation. What we just did, basically. I started a mini meditation afterwards. And I would suggest meditate. So formal practice means regular practice. I would suggest in the morning and evening. Each 24 minutes. Yeah. Maximum 90 minutes. Don't do much more. If you meditate every day for more than 90 minutes twice, it's too much. Anyway, most of the people don't have so much time. If you only have time for one practice, do it in the morning or in the evening, once a day, max twice a day. But you can do little mini meditations or mini breathwork sessions throughout the day. If you feel like in work you get stressed, then do a breathwork session for 3 minutes and that's fine. Yeah. But I would rather recommend then to do the calming breath. Yeah, because that's just soothing and good for the body. If you do all day long hyperventilation, that will not be beneficial. You will get so much energy in the body, you will just fly around and be nervous. So calming breaths as much as you want. Active breaths maximum twice a day. That's enough. Even once is enough. But you can do it every day, except if you're sick. I wouldn't do it. By sickness, no breath work. Sickness, rest. You don't need to do movement really much. Like if it's an acute sickness, like an infection or something. I wouldn't even say you have to practice. You can meditate a little bit, but take it easy. If it's a chronic illness, that's something else. Then it can be very good. Depends which illness that is. Okay, for the active breaths, an amount of breaths could be 50 to 100 repetitions. 100 times, or 60 or something like that. And then 3 rounds, for example. Okay, any other shares?
I found it quite hard to coordinate the last one.
Yeah.
With arms and elbows and
Yeah.
ins and outs.
Yeah.
So I need to practice that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do it for a week every day, you will have it. Or twice a week or something. Maybe question?
Where's the mouse?
All right, then let's close this workshop. Enjoy the beautiful sunny, almost November day. If you want to join in, let's close with an Om. Namaste.
Namaste.